Welcome back to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for another installment, the first one of 2025, for our Before the Snap series. If you've never tuned in for this program and this is your first time watching, we will appreciate you so much for giving time out of your busy schedule to tune in today and learn a little bit about what it takes to have a career in and around the NFL. And if you've tuned in before, you're in store for another excellent year, another excellent semester, and another excellent program today. As you can see, I am not at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I am at home in my office. It's January. We're in the Northeast. We're in the Northeast Ohio specifically, and we get a lot of snow. So unfortunately today, a little weather impacted some travel and some driving conditions here in Northeast Ohio. So I'm at home, but the beauty of Zoom, the beauty of technology we have today, we're still able to host this awesome program and speak to our awesome guests today. As always, my name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth Education and Leadership Manager at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, where it's our mission to honor the greatest of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, honesty, all of which made our 378 and soon to be more Hall of Famers great football players and football minds, but also made them great people off the field, great people in the huddle, and made them great people within their organization. And these values can truly make you a great student and a great employee of any organization that you end up with. Before we get started today, some thank yous I'd like to pass out. I'd like to thank all of our educators, professors that shared this out with their students today. We appreciate you allowing us to be a small part of your students' learning experience. Whether we're live right now or you're watching us 6, 8, 12 months down the road, we appreciate you showing this video to your students. Secondly, we have to thank our students. Students, without you, this is just a program of us interviewing somebody that works in and around the NFL. You have the opportunity to ask questions to an industry professional to learn more about their job, how they got it, tips and tricks in order to make yourself more successful down the road. So, as always, I know we've been off a little bit. So just as a reminder, if you're watching us live right now, make sure you comment. Let us know what school you're watching us from. We want to see how many great universities and colleges all over the country we can have involved today. And secondly, if you have a question, go ahead and submit it. The earlier you get your question submitted, the better chance we have asking it during the program. And if you have one in the middle and you just think of it, go ahead and throw that in the live chat as well. We're going to be monitoring that throughout the program today and asking some questions from our great students who are tuned in today. Lastly, and probably most importantly, I'd like to thank our special guest today, Ms. Vanessa Reid, who's going into her third season with the Minnesota Vikings. She brings a wealth of service experience and enthusiasm to the team. Having previously worked for the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Orlando Magic, Vanessa has hit the ground running to build upon her outstanding premium service and team member excellence. She's a co-chair of the Vikings Gals Women's Employee Resource Group and also assists with leading the Vikings Hispanic Working Group. She's originally from California and attended Oklahoma State University. Her family is her core. Her voice of reason, her husband, Larry, and their 4 boys feeds her soul and defines her life purpose, which we're super excited to hear from today. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our special guest today, Vanessa Reid. Vanessa, welcome to Before the Snap.
Jacob, thank you. Great
We're
job.
Thank you. We're super excited to have you here with us today. But more importantly, we're super excited to hear all the great tips and techniques you have for our students.
Absolutely.
So, kind of to start everything off, how we normally
Yeah.
do it is, can you kind of give us an overview of what you do on a day-to-day basis? And we'll kind of dive into the nitty-gritty here in a minute. But 10,000-foot view, what does your day-to-day job with the Vikings look like?
Ooh, 10,000 foot view. We're going to start there. Um, so high level overview. The interesting thing is, my title is Senior Director of Premium and Guest Experience. It doesn't exist necessarily in the league, so I think I'm possibly one of one, maybe one of two. So it's certainly a new concept in the league, especially with teams specifically, but in general, just so people have kind of a starting point, so I'll lay the groundwork. So for guest experience, what that is for me is we don't own our building, we don't operate our building. We are simply tenants and we rent it. So it is my responsibility to ensure that I maintain a very close relationship with our amazing stadium partners, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who show up on game day to ensure that our fans have the experience, and they're upholding those standards that we have as a Minnesota Vikings organization. So we stay in very close contact with stadium partners and the MSFA. So the MSFA owns the building, they operate the building. And so that relationship is so, so very important because we are, I guess you can call it their biggest tenant, right? So we rent the building 10 times a year and we have a lot of, expectations. And I think it's very important that that relationship is upheld and that we stay in very close like lockstep, basically. So that's the guest experience side. So that's anything from me answering the call because a toilet isn't working, or me answering the call because maybe we have an angry fan. So and then sensory room. We have an amazing sensory room in US Bank Stadium that we have Mama Vaz for all of our nursing mothers. We have mothers' rooms. And so it's my team, Alyssa Erdman specifically, who really manages a lot of that ebb and flow. On the premium side, I work very closely with Austin Hanson. He is our manager of premium. And basically, what we do is we ensure that all of our premium spaces, again, our standards are being met, whether that be food and beverage, whether that be aesthetics in their suite, whether that be ingress, egress, wayfinding for them, whether that be TVs working and the right thing on in their suite. So it's an absolute just joy to be where I am today. And I couldn't do it without the amazing team that I have. So,
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about, what your team looks like? What's it consist of? How many people? And then some of the different roles that they have, because obviously we know that, like you said, every team, kind of has the same sort of role when you look
sure.
at professional sports, and,
Yeah.
even in the NFL, everybody kind of has those same defined roles. You mentioned that yours is a little bit outside the box
Yeah.
of the norm in the NFL. So can you talk a little bit about your team and some of
Mhm.
the other things that the team below you handles, on the day-to-day basis as well?
Jacob, I could talk about my team all day long because my team is, why I am who I am. And I mean, they afford me the opportunity to do what I do. But Alyssa Erdman. So she reports into me specifically, and she's the manager of guest experience, and she has a coordinator, and then she also has an associate. But the biggest thing is the impact that she leaves on, kind of our ambassadors and our interns. So I would say roughly 60 people report to Alyssa Erdman specifically. And what she does is she ensures that, they're set up on all of our gate entries, that they're knowledgeable about all of our school service training, that they understand our mission and our values. And I will say the only reason this role exists with the Vikings is because, Andrew Miller being our COO and Mark Wilf being our owner, I think that they know that this department, specifically guest experience, is so self-sustaining because of Alyssa Erdman that then they can maybe, navigate me in different spaces so that I can grow and I can develop and I can, touch different spaces of the organization. So, she manages again all game day staff, security, she oversees, kind of that relationship again with the stadium partners. So that's Alyssa Erdman and her team. And then I have Austin Hanson and his team, and he has a coordinator. And he also has what we call an associate, and it's a year-long program. So for all of you college students that are listening or on today, this is, again, we're probably one of very few teams who allows for a year-long internship program who also provides, I would even say, business critical roles. So you will manage projects, you will be able to build a charter, you will know what KPIs are. And that's what I love so much about this organization is just the autonomy and just that empowerment. I kind of went off track there a little bit, so let me get back to Austin because I love my Austin Hanson, and he has again a coordinator and an associate, and then we have a black jacket crew, and basically it's a white glove type service, right? So our black jacket crew is, meeting all of our guests before they enter their suite in the clubs. They're ensuring that, our guests are accommodated if that's anything from they need their phone charged to they need a gluten-free food and beverage option to they need an ADA escort, right? So he manages that crew and has done a fantastic job in building trust and just awareness so that we can ensure that our guests are having the best experience they can.
Sounds like you got a great team with you that does some great stuff. And it is unique to kind of hear how there's a relationship. Like you said, you're a tenant. You're not working in the
Yeah,
stadium. You don't own the
yeah.
building. You're coming in on a Sunday just like everybody else is for the game.
Hmm.
and doing your job. So
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit about that. You talk, 10,000 foot view. I
Yep.
also think it's super important to tell the students what a game day looks like because there's
Mm,
so many different roles and responsibilities. Somebody
mm.
shows up to the game, you know, they get their ticket scanned, they might grab a drink, something to eat, and they go sit down and they watch the game. And there's
Mhm,
so much going on behind the
mhm,
scenes to make sure that they can do that. So can you talk a little
mhm.
bit about what you and your team do on a game day and how that relates to maybe the off season and some of the different
Yeah.
things that you handle?
Yeah, great question, Jacob. There's a lot of misconceptions. I will say that. So I don't even know what our score is 9 times out of 10. So I listen to the crowd movement. I listen to the roars of the crowd, and I'm like, okay, we did something great. Hopefully we're up 7. So I don't have time to watch the game. And that is one thing that, I think, again, if you're a true fan of the game, you're going to put your blood, sweat, and tears into this, but also understand you're going to have to go home and watch the game from start to finish, right? So just a thought there. So for instance, myself, Alyssa, and her team, we probably show up at, gosh, I don't know, 6 a.m. on a game day, if it's a 12 o'clock kickoff or 3 o'clock even. And then what we do is we ensure that our game day staff are set up to be rewarded and recognized. We ensure that, all of the spaces for ingress and egress and wayfinding are set up so that our fans will have a better experience, from driveway to driveway is what we call it. So that again starts about 6 a.m. And, anything from, I have Maddie Guile, right, who manages a game day gift pack program. And she's literally on her hands and knees, at 6 a.m. putting together autographed items and cups and, tin boxes. And so that her team, which is the memory makers, can be sure that, a guest who may request in advance a package to be delivered to someone that they're hosting or someone that they want to recognize in a game. She manages that process, and she shows up at 6 and never complains and gets her stuff done. And she's built, we are not a revenue driving department, and she is our only revenue stream for guest experience and premium outside of the obvious. So very proud of her and very proud of what she's done under Alyssa's leadership. So um, and then, with Emma and Chrissy and Austin, who help all of our premium guests, we have boxes delivered, right? So maybe a suite owner says, I'm going to have some special guests in there. I want to give them branded items. I'm going to send you a box. You got to carry that box in the stadium, and you got to set this up in our suite. And, I want to ensure that before doors open, our guests will go in there and have a wow factor moment. And so Emma and Austin and Christy create that for all of our premium members. And we got to make sure F&B is set up correctly. We got to make sure that, all the things that they ordered, we have checklists, and we have 100, gosh, I don't know how many, we have 132 suites. And so we got to go through those guys, before the doors open, because we want to make sure that those people who invest so much and trust us so much for their experience, we got to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Can you talk to us about how important guest experience is? As
Oh,
a consumer that's going to a game, obviously we want to be taken care of. We want lines to be short. We want to be quick. So we between a drive, commercial timeout, we can run to the bathroom or we can run and get a pretzel and come back and not miss anything. And in-game experience. How important is that from your side of the table? For us, we want to be entertained. We want to see a great product on the field. Whether it's a win or a loss, obviously we want it to be a win. And that obviously adds a lot to the experience as well, which is definitely out of your control. But those things you can't control, how important is that guest experience, to the product that is an NFL game?
you know what, Jacob? It's everything. I mean, it just is, right? So here's the thing. We have external factors, we have controllables, and we have non-controllables. So my team and I know we can control what we can control. We can't control what happens on the field. It's not like buying a car, right? When you go in, you get a white car with tan leather and 20,000 or less miles, and that's your experience. This is outside of that. It's in a league of its own, literally, because all we can control is the 8-year-old kid who came to see his hero and wants to, walk hand in hand with his dad, who probably worked 20 hours extra that week just to get him in the building. And it is our job to see that guest, to hear that guest, and to acknowledge that they are there to experience something that will forever be a core memory for them and for us. And if that's because a sign isn't clearly stated where they need to go, because what I don't want is for my guests to come in and immediately be met with anxiety because they don't know what direction to go to, or they don't know where their location is, or you know uh all his kid wants is nachos. So how can I find that? And we have this amazing program, which is Ask Vic, that again Alyssa and Tessa internally here with the Minnesota Vikings, it's a chat bot, right? So you can just say, hey, where can I find nachos? Where can I take my son to get the closest view of his hero? And that will show up for them. And I think that that's us showing up indirectly and directly for our people. And we owe them everything. Our fans are everything to us. They keep our lights on. They create legacies for us. They ensure that, we're still a factor. They're everything. They're everything to us.
A follow up for that, and I'm going to send it to Nathan for some of our student questions. Obviously you get that, and the idea of going to meet your hero kind of got my gears turning, and cut off another question here because obviously you can't make everybody's day perfect. You can't grant every wish. You can't let everybody go into the locker room to talk to Sam Darnold after the game's over or Justin Jefferson. You just can't make that happen.
Mhm.
So, as a professional, I think this is going to be a great message to the students. How can you
Mhm.
balance, trying to make everybody's day the best it can be versus knowing like, hey, we can't do everything because we don't have the capability to do it. How do you balance that? And what are some tips and tricks that students can do when they get in
Yeah.
those situations, knowing that they have a job to do and they have to stick to that, even if they want to be,
Mhm.
make all 40,000 people, 60,000 people's day?
Yeah, and you're right, right? Like we have 67,000 people that enter our building 10 times or hopefully more a year. And so with that being said, we have to be proactive. We have to be diligent. We have to be strategic. So for instance, Alyssa and her team, they have first game buttons, right? They have matchup buttons. They have I'm celebrating buttons. They have photo opportunities. They have, again, this sensory room that we work so hard on to ensure that every guest, it's just an inclusive space so that everyone feels comfortable and everyone can enjoy their level of this game to their capacity. So can we touch 67,000 people every game? No. But can we ensure that we have the resources in place that if 67,000 people came up to us and had their unique experience delivered to us, we can come with something. So we can come with, I'm celebrating. We can come with, here's a photo opportunity for you. We can come with, hey, this is the perfect location for you to take a breather and level set a little bit and then come back and join us at the game. So yeah, it's little pieces, it's little details, it's little interactions, it's little engagements that really leave that lasting impression for our guests, and that's what my team does so beautifully.
Awesome. Well, I have a bunch of questions I can get to, but we're here to get some questions from our students who are learning and networking today. So I'm going to throw it to Nathan Martin, who's at the studio at the Hall of Fame, to ask those student questions and get some more insight and look into what our students want to learn today. So Nathan, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Jake and Vanessa. Thanks for being a part of the program with us this afternoon. Already a lot of great information. I love the energy that you bring to this conversation. And I'm going to start with a personal question.
Yeah,
You're a parent, you've got kids. I've actually got a 2-year-old at home, and
yeah,
I'm just curious, what is it like for you working in sports, like what so many people would say is a dream job? Like,
yeah.
how do you
Oh,
find that balance as being a mom and being a parent and, working in sports? It's weird hours, it's a lot of hours. So like, how do you have that balance? Our students probably aren't there yet, but
Mhm.
they're chasing those dream jobs, and hopefully they have families some days, and they're going to have to find that work-life balance. So what does that look like for you, being a mom working in sports?
Yeah. You know what, Nathan, here's the thing. It's the nurse that works 10 p.m. to, 12 in the afternoon the next day that really has the right to answer that question
Mm,
about her work-life balance or about his work-life balance, or it's the mom who has to have two jobs just to, keep shelter for her children. That's who I owe that respective question to. Because I am working my dream job and it
mm,
doesn't feel like work. And yes, maybe I am here on a Christmas Eve night, or maybe I am here on Christmas Day, but you know who else is? My husband and my kiddos. And I'm providing an experience for them that they wouldn't necessarily have. And so there's joy in that, and there's gratitude. And, I have one of the best scenarios working for the Wilf family and working under our COO, Andrew Miller, and, Lara, who is our, chief people and culture. And they invest so much in our well-being, whether that's, you know, just online courses for us to take for wellness, or whether that's making sure we have enough PTO, or whether that's making sure, hey, I'm checking in, are you fatigued? Like, what's going on? And so I gotta say, I'm spoiled. We're
mm.
spoiled here.
Yeah.
They take such good care of us that I just don't have room to say, that there isn't a healthy work-life balance, because I give something to my children that I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't have this role.
Yeah. That's special that you're in a place with a culture and an environment.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
really the takeaway for the students watching, looking for career
Mhm.
advice is hunt that out, seek that out when you're looking
Mhm.
for potential employers. Find a place that's gonna kind of make
Yes,
it a family for you
it
and
is.
treat you with respect, and check in on you. Those things are so important. So I appreciate you kind of pulling the curtain back there and answering that. We do have a student question here. This was submitted by Jose. He's a student from Grand Canyon University.
Hi, Jose.
I'm just going to read the question straight from the sheet here. When you're optimizing the customer experience, do you think it's better to stick with methods that have proven data behind them, that have
Mm.
worked, they're tried and true, or is it better to try to get outside the box and come up with new experiences that have limited data for the
Mm.
customers? So kind of where are you at with that? When you're
Mm.
thinking about that customer experience for folks coming to Vikings games.
Oh gosh, Jose, you threw that one out there. I love it. Now I will say this. Uh, we do have experts in this field with this team, and that's Kendall and that's Ganetta and that's their team. So
Mhm.
I will say I am not as well versed in data per se as far as what our fan base looks like. I do know who I do know that we as an organization want to love those that love us,
Mm,
if that makes sense. And so we're constantly tapping into our season ticket member base to say, what is it that you want? How can we evolve? How can we make your experience better? What are some areas of opportunity for us? Like, let's feedback is love. And I say that all the time around here. Like, how can we better enhance your experience, because we know we can only control what we can control. So I say that to say, and we're not alone in this, being the NFL or being the Minnesota Vikings, but Gen Z, right? Huge opportunity to really tap into those guys that are going to be future fans of ours. And now we're talking Gen Alpha, now we're talking Gen Beta, because this is the first year. So, and then we have the Sallies, and I'm a Sally, right? Like, I just want to be the hero for my kiddo. So I just want to take my kiddo to the game. I want my kiddo to have the best experience ever. And I want him to say, you're the best mom ever, because I got to see Justin Jefferson catch you know, be the amazing Justin Jefferson that he is. So, I just say that to say data, yes, we are very data focused here. Maybe we're late laggards in some areas of data, but maybe we're early adopters. It just depends on the situation. It depends on, where the NFL is going. It depends on where this industry, as a whole goes. But we look at data every day here.
yeah,
Every
I love that. You basically are like, it just depends. You know,
It just depends.
depends on the decision we're making.
Yep.
Sometimes we want to be the early adopter where there's maybe not as
Yeah.
much data there to
Mhm.
back it up, and sometimes it's like, no, we got to make sure that this is
De-risk the
proven
bird.
before. Yeah. So
Mhm.
love
Yep.
that. And Jose, thank you for submitting that
Thank you,
question.
Jose.
Students, if there's anyone else, I guess you don't have to be a student, anyone that's watching the program, if you got a question for Vanessa, go ahead and submit that on YouTube using the chat function. We'll go ahead and make that part of the program. I'm going to send it back to Jake, though, for right now as I continue to look through those.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Jose. That was a great question. I love hearing that. Vanessa, you mentioned another friend of ours, Mr. Kendall Peters, has been a member,
Yes.
has been a guest on this show as well. So we are super excited as, we start to get into this program a few years and we start hearing some names that have been on the program before. So very cool for us.
He's a great guy.
To all everybody, watching here today, we mentioned what our mission at the Pro Football Hall of Fame was, is to honor the greatest of the game, honor the greatest of the game, the best to ever do it. Whether you're played it for 2 snaps or you played for 40 years. We're going to honor the people who made the game what it is today. And our goal is to preserve its history. We are a museum preserving the history of the great sport that is professional American football. So we thought what better way to showcase that than actually go live out into our museum. We got our teammate Katie, who's in, I'm going to spoil the surprise. She's in our front lobby. And you might think that's not very fun, but we got a pretty cool thing that Katie's going to talk about. So Katie, whenever you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Jake. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the main entrance in the front lobby of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This area behind me is the first thing people see when they walk into 2121 George Hallis Drive. So the main piece of this lobby is the new class exhibit, which I'm standing in right now. And this is a display of the new class that's enshrined each year. This is all their artifacts that they gift us. So this year we have class of 2024 right now with players like Andre Johnson, Devin Hester, Julius Peppers. So this is a newly designed exhibit with the goal to, like Jake said, truly honor the greatest of the game. So Vanessa, working in guest experiences, I'm sure you have to think about the wow factor and how to make sure guests at Viking games are wowed when they walk into US Bank Stadium. So my question for you is, what are some things you have to think of each game to make sure the guests are having a great time when they go to a Vikings game?
Yeah, and you're right. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm in the sportsman city, right? So we compete with some really big hitters here. So we have professional baseball, we have professional hockey, we have professional soccer, we have a beautiful array of women's professional sports as well, and the WNBA and all I mean, you are not short of any opportunity here to see some type of sporting event, right? So I want to be the venerable brand. Like, I want the Vikings to be the venerable brand. I want us to be kind of the end all be all, right? And in order to do that, we have to ensure that we're paying close attention to those small details, so that, again, the dad that brings his kiddo to see his hero and his worked all these extra hours, I want to be sure that this is a moment that that he can capitalize on to be the hero for his kid. But I also want him to be able to talk about this to his kid for years to come. And not so much, did we win? Did we lose? Was it, but do you remember when Victor did that awesome flip and was wearing that really cool outfit? And when the NBCs just killed it on their routine, and all the food was just hot and ready and awesome, and everyone around them it was a community feeling, and it was just a place that you can go and just forget everything and lose it all and just become one unit. And that's what we want here. And so that's badges so that you can say, this is my first game. That's ways for us to recognize you with the skull horns. It says my first game, that Maddie and Alyssa work so hard on, and that Austin and his team, Emma and Chrissy, create for our premium guests, just to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't carry this particular brand of wine. I'm going to find it for you, and I'm going to get it for you, because what I'm here to do is ensure that you are able to be that segue for your people. And I'm here to make that happen for you.
That's awesome, Vanessa. Yeah, I completely agree, especially in our jobs here at the Hall of Fame too. Details really matter, and that goes for any job really, and just in life in general. So thank you for that. Thank you for being on Before the Snap. And Jake, back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. Thanks for a live look. And for those of you that don't know, here in about 3 weeks or so, we're going to be announcing our brand new class of 2025. And come through the spring, that gallery you saw there right behind Katie is going to change, and we're going to be honoring our newest class and members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Vanessa, I want to talk a little, and we ask this question every program, and it's just cool because it makes our guests reflect a little bit, but also provide us with a pretty cool story. In all your time you spend in sports, one of the cool things we get to do, for those people who work in sports, we get to be a part of events or moments or games that people would pay so much money to be a part of, and that's part of our job. So thinking back over your career in sports, is there a moment when you're retired, I like to joke, kicked back in the lazy boy, talking to your grandkids, and they say, what was your favorite moment you ever got to be involved with? So up to this point in your sports career, what would you say is that moment that kind of makes you take a step back and go, wow, I can't believe I was there?
Well, almost every day when I walk in this building, I have a moment to myself, and it's a meditative moment. I walk these hallways and I see all of those people before me that created this beautiful brand that we have today. And then I see the Wilf family on the walls who invest so much in us to ensure that, their fans are getting what it is that they're investing in, the resources that we're pouring into us to get. So anyway, every day. And I talk to people here all the time, right? This is a beautiful building. So we have one of the best practice facilities in all of the league. And you walk in and it's just it's a wow factor every moment. So I say every day, because I'm very grateful to be here, because this was never meant to happen for me. This was never in my future. So the fact that I'm here and the fact that they've entrusted me with this is just every day. But so I have two moments with the NBA. I had a boss, Matt Bowman, and I was in sales. So I was in ticket sales. I started off just busting out 100 calls a day and trying to get people, but honestly, with the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2009, I mean, Oklahoma was a college town, right? Like, I couldn't give away tickets on a Saturday with Kobe in the building. So we're busting out 100, 150 calls a day, just trying to, earn that respect in the state of Oklahoma. And we absolutely did. Of course, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and Serge Ibaka and Kendrick Perkins and all those guys that really allowed us, to be as successful as we were during that time. But I remember we had a sellout goal, and it was a very aggressive goal. So it's an 18,000 person arena for the Thunder. And Matt Bowman said, at this point, we only have 10,000 tickets sold. We need 8,000 more tickets in 3 days. You guys got to do it. So we're calling schools and we're calling organizations, and we're just like busting out calls. And then every single ticket, we would go up there and we would mark it off the wall and mark it off the wall and mark it off the wall. And it was, 8,000 spots to mark off the dry erase board. And we did it. And we did it. And, the leadership team, Brian Burns, at that time, he said, hey, we got to recognize this, right? In 3 days, they sold 8,000 tickets. They sold out our game. It was actually against the Milwaukee Bucks. And it was a random Tuesday, and in the middle of football season, and that's always a hard ask when you're up against the NFL. But we did it, and then they sent us to Dallas and got us a little party bus, and we all sat and just congratulated each other. So that's one moment. The next moment would be working for the Vikings in my first game. I remember I was escorted down to the field, and just so many memories came rushing back, like sitting, in front of an old Zenith TV with my grandma and my dad, and we're watching the Niners. We're watching, Jerry Rice and Joe Montana connect time after time after time, and we're watching Randy Moss and all the amazing people that have built this league to be what it is today. And that little girl sat in front of that TV and just thought, wow, how incredible, how lucky those people are. I can't ever imagine. We couldn't even afford to go to a football game. I never even went to an NFL game. It just wasn't in the cards for us, right? My parents worked hard. We just didn't have it. We just didn't have an opportunity to do it. So it just was never, it was so far fetched for me to think that I could ever step my foot on an NFL field. And I did. And I just was overcome with emotion. I was just overcome with emotion. It was just like this electric volt that just came through me. And it was like, wow, you're here. You're here. And it's unreal.
That's a great segue into my second question here. At the Pro Football, we mentioned all of our values, and we believe the game of football is unlike any other because of the life lessons that it can teach. And obviously there are so many things that can teach you life lessons outside of them. But obviously we're the Pro Football Hall of Fame and we're a little biased to the sport of football. And you talked about it there, just how important the game was and brought your family together. So for somebody who's involved in the game, specifically from the fan side, seeing that aha moment when a kid or a parent or a family walks in, the wide eyes. How important is the sport of football, and what are some of those life lessons you've seen it teach throughout your time there with the Vikings?
I will say that football has taught me things since I've been 5, right? Like, again, we were a family that got together on Sunday and we watched the games, and that's what we did. So, football alone of course, it's much more than a game, right? It's life. It shapes players and fans and professionals. It allows for discipline and work ethic, and so many of these are transferable to so many other opportunities and so many other different industries in the world. It's teamwork. It shows collaboration, and everyone from the quarterback to the lineman. It's a vital role, and so it is here too on the business operations side. And it's resilience. It's overcoming setbacks and just pushing forward after a tough loss or an injury. It's adaptability. Game plans don't always go as expected, and we must adapt, and we must adapt very quickly. And we know this from a fan perspective, and then we know this from a behind the scenes perspective. I mean, it's all one. Like, we're all one. Like, this is something that the guy that's sitting in his den with his 5-year-old and his brand new 2-month-old son, and they're watching Justin Jefferson do the gritty, and it's just these are the things that they want their son to walk away with. They want their son to know this inclusivity. Like, it brings people together from backgrounds, and no one sees anything but you're either a Vikings fan or you're not. And so it fosters basically mutual respect.
Awesome. And, we at the Pro Football Hall of Fame couldn't echo those sentiments. Just the same. You get to see it on a week to week basis every fall, winter, hopefully into the late winter season as well. We get to see it with the greatest who have ever played the game, and see our Hall of Famers reflect on that from where they sit now and how important it was to them. So it is very cool, and it's so great to hear that no matter what sector of the game you look at, there's still a huge impact from the game. I know we got at least one more student question from Nathan here. He's got one ready to go, so we're going to throw it to him after Nathan's question. I got a couple more things to run through on my end, and then we'll be wrapped up. So Nathan, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you again, Jake. And Vanessa, I gotta be honest, like when you tell that story about going onto the field and like the flood of emotions, that was just special. I was getting emotional here. I was like, wow, I could see it in you, and I was just like, wow, it's so true though. Like, I mean, the fact that you're able to reflect when you get those experiences and think about, the family you come from and the sacrifices your family made and the hard work that you've put in to get to where you are. It's special, and I appreciate you sharing that with everyone today. I do have this student question. This is from Joseph. He's a student at the California State University Maritime Academy. And he's currently working as a guest service representative at Levi's Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, just
Awesome.
curious, what type of advice would you give a student like Joseph who maybe has that part-time job? They feel like they got their foot in the door, but it's competitive. How do you stand out when you're in this part-time role, or maybe you've got an internship role or whatever it may be? You're kind of there, but you're not there. So how can they stand out amongst the rest of the class that they're working with?
Yeah. So Joseph, thank you. And I know that this might be a question that, several people had. So I'm glad that you put this in the chat and that we can talk a little bit about this. So number one, congratulations, Levi Stadium. That's amazing. And you have one of the best organizations there that you work for. And I know that they keep everything in-house. So I know that you actually are a 49ers employee. And I think that that's really, really cool. So good job. So a few things here. So networking is invaluable in the sports industry because relationships so often open doors. And things that I tell people is, you know what, be more proactive than reactive. So attend industry events, webinars, conferences. Don't wait for the opportunities to come to you, because they won't. You have to create them yourself. And you are, because you're here. So it's a great start. Engage on social media and personalized message. Avoid kind of these generic requests that you might see on LinkedIn. They don't work, and a lot of times we don't look at them, in all honesty. So volunteer, intern. I mean, you have to have hands-on experience to, build that resume, which gives you an opportunity to meet industry professionals. You got to follow up. It's amazing how many people will not email me after this. It's amazing. So follow up after meeting someone, send a thank you note in the mail. It's such a lost art, but it stands out. When I get a thank you note here, a handwritten one, I literally go around to everyone, like, look at this. I put it up in my office. I, have a wall over here. Ask for advice and not a job, if that makes sense. So people love to share their knowledge, and they like to talk, and they like to talk about themselves. So learn how to, open those doors with just learning about an individual, and maybe not a job that they're offering, if that makes sense. And network across basically all industries, and all peers. Don't just network up, like network out. And because those, I will say, the peer relationships that I've made over my years of being in this business. I mean, the reason I have this job today is because of a peer. And he kind of went out on a limb for me and started a conversation with the people here with the Vikings, and I'm here. And I had a brand, and you got to remember that. Your brand, you are your walking billboard. So make sure your brand is reputable and consistent, and you won't be forgotten.
There are so many great nuggets in that 2 to 3 minute response there. I saw Jake's face. He got excited when you started talking about handwritten notes. I know he's
Yes.
a major advocate for that.
Okay.
I know you talk about not just networking up, but
Out.
across, with people
Yeah.
that are kind of in the same stage as you.
Yeah.
Just so many great things there. I
Mhm.
mean, we cut that 3 minutes, and that could just kind of promote what we try to do with Before the Snap. So thank you so much for answering his question. Joseph, thanks for watching. This is a step in trying to learn more and advance your career. But Vanessa, I want to thank you on behalf of myself and the students that have been watching. Thanks for being a part of Before the Snap today. I know Jake's got some things to wrap up, but really appreciate all the insight and advice you've had this
I'm
afternoon.
honored. Thank you.
So, Jake, back to you.
Thanks, Nathan. And I can't echo anything Nathan said right there. You saw me smile when you said handwritten thank yous. Like Nathan said, that's a big thing. It's like you said, it's a lost art. It takes 5 minutes to write a nice. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
a 5-page paper. Just a quick thank you, and that it gets in the mail. And there's always something about walking to your mailbox at work and
Yeah.
pulling out a letter addressed to you, like, all right, I got mail today. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it is definitely a lost art, and I think it leaves a huge impact. With it being such a small task to do, for sure.
And
So as I mentioned,
I keep every one of them. Mhm.
As I mentioned, got a few more things. So we're gonna do something a little fun first, and then we're gonna wrap up with our final kind of
Okay.
hard hitting, take everything home question. So first thing, we got some rapid fire questions. So I have
Okay.
7 of them. I'm gonna look off here to my left. So just first thing that comes to mind whenever we're ready. All right.
Ready.
All right. Question number 1: LinkedIn, great way to network or just another social media app?
Depends on how you use it.
Number 2: GPA on a resume. Keep it on, leave it off.
Wow. I never look at that.
Number 3: social media accounts, public or private?
Private.
Number 4: jeans at work, all day, every day, never or only on casual Fridays?
My team loves jeans, and I don't care that they do. I don't. I don't wear jeans to work as much, but they do, and I'm glad they do, and I wouldn't take that away from them.
Number 5: coin toss, heads or tails?
Heads.
6: you score a touchdown, and I think I know the answer to this question. What's your touchdown celebration?
You think I'm gonna say the gritty, and it's
I
not.
did think you were going to say that.
It's my son actually has a touchdown celebration. He's 6, and it's It's like a robot movement, and that would be my touchdown celebration.
Awesome. Very cool. Last one, and this is a new question we added this year. If you could describe your job as a flavor of ice cream,
Mm.
what flavor of ice cream is your job?
Orange sherbet, because it's sweet, but then it gets you back here, and then turns your teeth orange, so you stand out. And it has a lot of sugar, so it tastes amazing.
I love it. There's no wrong answer to that
Okay.
question. It's great to hear the comparison. So, again, Vanessa, I want to thank you so much for being part of the program today. One of my favorites, I think, of all time, just because of all the great tidbits and nuggets of information you had to share, and the insight to what you do and the importance of it, to make an NFL game what it is. So we want to thank you for that. Thank you for giving your time to the program today. But our last question here is, we want to kind of sum up everything that we've talked about today, and we think the best way to do that is, if you could tell anybody watching this right now, to Nathan and I, to any of the students watching, if we could only remember one thing, we can take one thing away from this program, what is that parting thought you want us to leave with after the program today?
Be audaciously curious. Always ask questions. You won't ever know it all. I wouldn't ever want to know it all. And just be audaciously curious. Insert yourself. Advocate for yourself. And just remember, we all struggle with that inner saboteur, right? Like I struggle all the time. Like, do I belong here? Am I allowed to speak up right now? Can I ask that question? And the answer is always yes. I do belong here, and so do you. Got to work hard, and always, always have an openness to learn, to grow, to develop, and to help those around you, and always pay it forward.
Awesome. That's a great way to wrap up this installment, the first one of 2025, with our special guest, Vanessa Reid, the Senior Director of Premium and Guest Experience for the Minnesota Vikings. Vanessa, again, thank you so much for being on the program today, being part of Before the Snap, and everything you do for the game of football, which indirectly affects us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So thank you for being such a great representation of the game.
Thank you, guys. I loved it.
As to all of our folks who tuned in today, thank you so much for watching. As always, we're going to hit the ground running again with this program this semester. We've got a couple more programs this month, so make sure you tune in a week from today. We've got Matt Noon, who works for the Washington Commanders in inside sales. So we're going to learn a little bit about that ticket sale life and what it takes to have a career, in which a lot of people say kind of is that foot in the door if you want to work in sports. So I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that for him here in a week. So to anybody else who tuned in today, obviously, thank you so much. We hope you learned a little bit about what it takes to have a career in and around the NFL. Thank you to Nathan, Katie, all of our staff at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and specifically to you, Vanessa. Thank you for being part of the program today. Make sure you tune in, like, subscribe, follow everything that's got to do with us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As I mentioned a few times, we are going to be announcing our newest class here in a few short weeks. We just opened a brand new exhibit at the Pro Football Hall of Fame called Character, highlighting those off the field moments, those on the field moments that really speak to people's character, as well as the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award and all the great things that go along with that. So make sure you tune in, see everything we have going on in Canton, as well as to everything the Vikings are doing in their community. So for myself, from Nathan, everybody at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we want to thank you so much for